We're going to start with an awareness through movement lesson, so please stand. Is that pretty close? I think so. I'll mirror you. Take your right arm, bring it across the front of yourself, put it there. Have your left arm, take it across yourself, put it there. And go, good morning. Good morning, how are you today? Take that, play with your kids. So, can you see the position of the arms, how the elbows are close together? So we'll be using this position quite a lot in this lesson. Yes? So I thought I might as well show you, get it over and done with. No, you see? Oh, look. Oh, darling, I love you so much. Yes? Huh? Yes. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so please lie on your back. We're of a certain vintage. Yeah. Very famous skit. So let's do some scanning. Locate the tip of your right shoulder. Have your arms on the floor beside you. And in your awareness, locate the tip of your left shoulder. So you have the two tips of the shoulders. And now get a sense of the distance between those two tips. Across the front of yourself. So from the shoulder tip across the top of your chest to the other side. Great. And now instead of going across the front of yourself, travel with your attention across the back of yourself. So from the tip of the right shoulder across the back, past your spine, at the back, and to the other shoulder. And now compare those two distances, across the front, across the back. Which one's greater? Okay, and now move with your attention to the widest point of your right hip, which, as you know, anatomically speaking, is not your pelvis at all. It's your thigh bone, the top of your thigh bone. So get a sense of that widest place at your right hip on the right, and the widest place of your left hip. And go through that same process. Attend, find out what is the distance from that place on the right hip across the front of yourself to the left. And then repeat that process, but not traveling across the front of yourself, but traveling behind yourself. You know, that used to be that ad for Yellow Pages, let your fingers do the walking. Well, how many steps would a little imaginary fingers need to make to walk across the back as compared to walking across the front? And now compare the two sides, front and back. Which one's longer? And now, out of those two distances, the distance of the width of the hips and the distance of the width of the shoulder blades, which is wider across the front? The width of the hips or the width of the shoulders? And please don't go by what you remember seeing in the mirror. Go by what you feel right now. And now switch sides, go to the back, and which distance is longer? The width of the hips around from the back or the width of the shoulders around from the back? Raise your right arm towards the ceiling. And put it back down again. And now do the same movement, but pay attention to the way your shoulder blade relates to the floor. Yeah, so raise the right arm towards the ceiling and notice, is there any change in relationship between the shoulder blade and the floor when you raise your arm towards the ceiling? Try that out several times. And for some of you, the act of raising your arm towards the ceiling will actually lift the shoulder blade completely off the floor, and for others, it will actually ground your shoulder blade into the floor. Yeah, you get that grounding. Suddenly the weight of the arm in front grounds the shoulder blade. Interesting how we create different experiences for ourselves. Now, the next time your right arm is up there, leave it there, and now raise your left arm towards the ceiling and lower it just a few times to find out, do you do the same thing with the left shoulder blade? Is it a different experience you create on this side? Great. Now leave both arms towards the ceiling and simply tilt the arms towards each other until the wrists cross, with the right wrist further away from your head than the left. Ooh, yeah, wrists, not elbows. Just cross the wrists. That's it. Are you sure it's the wrists that are touching? Now, notice the contact between the two wrists. Can you feel skin-to-skin contact? How light is it? What's the lightest amount of contact you could have from wrist to wrist and still know you're touching? Could you find that out, please? What's the lightest contact? And if you have hairy arms like me, you're at an advantage. Now, keep that light contact and continue to tilt the arms, the right to the left and the left to the right, following the contact down the arms, between the arms, until you feel the elbows touching. And just track the sensation of contact, that ongoing movement of contact between the arms. Now, if you wanted to, you could make this feel actually quite sensual. I mean, skin-to-skin contact. It's a very sensual affair. And the next time you're at the elbows, if it's possible, slide the arms even further so that you go past the elbows until the elbows just simply bend and your hands are kind of just lightly resting across yourself. That's it. Now, with your right hand, use your fingers to touch your left shoulder. At some point, wherever you can touch easily without moving the right hand, use your right hand to touch your left shoulder. We could use words like caress, soothe, stroke, but definitely not poke. No poking. That's it. And now leave that and do the same thing with the other hand to the with the right shoulder. Make hand to shoulder contact and be fully present to the sensations that appear. Lift your head. Great. Now make contact with both shoulders with both hands. And now with the right hand, leave the contact and start to lift your arm, your forearm, your wrist, a little bit away from your chest and put it back. Just that. Just lift that right arm a little bit away from the chest. And here's the invitation. If you don't stiffen the muscles of your spine, if you don't stiffen the muscles of your trunk, and you start to lift the forearm away from your chest, do you roll? Just through the act of lifting the arm, do you start to roll a little bit to the left? So you separate the forearm away from the chest, the hand lifts a little bit more towards the ceiling, but not much, it's just a tiny little bit. And that release, that lifting of the weight of the arm away from you, does that start to roll you? Can you feel that? So now, for those of you that can feel that, that's the quality of rolling that all of you have innately in you. Yeah, that kind of quality where there's no effort. You lift the arm and you start to roll. Following that quality, could you please start to think of lifting the arm and taking the fingers further and further to the left, as if at some point you wanted to touch the floor to the left of you. Doesn't have to be right next to you, can be somewhere out to the left. And see if it's possible to maintain that initial quality that you experienced. To keep that quality flowing, flowing, flowing. And just like we've done in all lessons, feel free to involve other parts of yourself to create that quality. Now, please continue this exploration, but bend your right leg and have your right foot standing. And simply notice, does that change in limb configuration make a difference to your ability to keep that quality of movement alive? And if the answer is yes, why didn't you do it for yourself? Why did you wait for me to ask you to do it? Ooh. But really, why did you wait? Curiosity. That's a nice one. I'll accept that one. That's a winning answer. Because I wanted to find out what was possible in the other position. Yes. Yeah, you can do the left leg too. Great. Lengthen out the right leg. Bend the left leg. Put the left leg standing. And as you take your right hand to the left, lower your left thigh towards the floor. As you take your right hand to the left to touch some part of the floor to your left, lower the right thigh, the left thigh to the floor. The left leg's bent. That's it. Now, if you don't let the right leg roll, you're going to be stuck. Remember, you have a left hip joint. You have a left hip joint. And the left hip joint can just let the leg go to the side. Thank you very much. Great. Now lengthen both legs again. And take the right arm to the left. So there's a lot of territory. There's a lot of floor space out there to your left. What can you make contact? Where can you make contact with the floor to the left? And continue to slide the hand along the floor to the left. Now remember that left hand that's touching your right shoulder? Could you somehow use that left hand to show your right shoulder where to go? Hey, this way. Come this way. Come on. Let's go for a little trip. So the lightest of touch with your left hand can yield lots of information about how the right shoulder can be moving to assist the right arm go further to the left. That's nice. Excellent. Please let that be and rest. Now, it could be that for some of you, having your arms folded across your upper chest like this creates a kind of a constricted feeling in you. If that's the case, just make sure that you're leaving enough space, that you're not resting the full weight of your arms on your shoulders, that you create a little bit of airiness in there. Raise both of your arms towards the ceiling. Notice what you did with your shoulder blades relative to the floor. Is it possible to have the arms to the ceiling and the shoulder blades actually grounded, resting on the floor? And now cross the wrists, and this time make sure that the right wrist is closer to your face. It's the wrist that's closer to your face. And now slide the arms very, very gradually with that sort of sensuous contact between the arms. Slide the arms, slide, slide until the elbows touch. And then continue to slide the arms. And if the elbows start to bend, let the elbows bend. And then just let your hands alight land on you. And perform the same little experiment with your left forearm. Just lift it a little bit away from your chest so that the wrist lifts, the forearm lifts, the hand lifts, and notice, do you roll a little bit with that first lifting of that forearm wrist? No, the right wrist is closest to the face. The left arm is further. Yeah, that's it. That's correct. And you just simply fold the arms. That's it. And let the arms, yeah, that's nice. Now you just simply lift the left forearm away from yourself a little bit. Yeah, just this one. That's it. Ah, there we go. Yeah, that's it. Now, that's it. Yeah. And when you do that, notice, do you tend to roll off a little bit to the right? Or are you already compensating, pulling back to the left? Because our nervous systems are really good at that, anticipating a weight shift, and then we compensate. But if you don't do that, then what you get is the lifting the arm already takes you to the right. Now continue that. Lift the arm and intend to touch the floor somewhere to your right. Yes, with the left arm. And as you do that, in the background of your awareness, notice, are you giving yourself permission to roll your head? Are you giving yourself permission to bend one leg or the other leg or both legs? Are you giving yourself permission to touch the floor wherever you're able to touch it? Not the furthest away, not the closest to, but somewhere where you feel, if the hand lands there, the quality will just stay, just like it started. Are you giving yourself those kinds of permissions? So rather than a fixed idea of how the movement should be done, you let the movement unfold itself. Each new sensation is a different possibility. And the more you do it, the more times you repeat it, you start to see, you start to experience, you start to feel, this is possible. This is possible. This is possible. And it'll be really tempting to push that left heel into the ground. That is one way of doing this. However, it only gets you so far. Nice. Nice. Soften the fingers. If you think about it, the skin of the fingers, the flesh of the fingers, probably contains more tactile receptors than a lot of places in the rest of your body. So it's a rich area for sensing. And the softer they are, the more ready they are to sense. Beautiful. I'm seeing some rolling like, wow, those ribs, that chest has changed. There's a lovely quality there. Excellent. Stop and rest, please. I was talking with my partner last night on the telephone, and she was asking me what I was going to do on my day off. And I said to her, I might go to an art gallery. And she replied back, why are you going to an art gallery? You don't like looking at art. It's true. Actually, I'm very impatient when it comes to looking at visual art. I like sculptures better. And I said to her, yeah, I know. But I do like going inside the architecture of different galleries. That's what I actually get the buzz from. Yeah. So I'll go to Federation Square and I'll go to the art gallery there, because when I go in that art gallery, they've built into it these little kind of stone windows. You can look through the window into a different space, and I really like that. I can sit there for quite a while and actually just look through that space. It's like it takes you somewhere else. It's really enjoyable.
Have you been at Yarra Valley? There is an art gallery.
No. Yeah, that's okay, it'll come back. Yeah. So I actually like going into the space. Now, roll to one side and come to sit. And just have a look over here. So, can you all see me from here? So imagine this pillar is the floor. Yep. And so far you've been lying on your back doing this. But imagine if you flipped it all the way around and suddenly you were leaning on the floor like this. So rather than leaning on the floor like that, lean on the floor like this. Well done, Zara. Well done. Okay. Yeah. Try that. On the front. Go straight onto the front. Lean on your elbows, lean on your forearms. Lean on your elbows, lean on your forearms. I'm confused. Okay. Yeah. Have your forearms on the floor.
Have the right close to the face or the left?
Start off having the left arm closer to the face. Oh, I can see. Yeah, see how I'm glad I demonstrated. Imagine trying to describe this. Oh, yeah. You could spend. So how do you get the arms underneath yourself so that you can rest on like this?
Oh, cool.
No, on your front. Now, see if it's possible to bring your right shoulder into the palm of your left hand. Remember, your forearms are on the floor, your hands are towards the ceiling. Is it possible to bring your right shoulder into the palm? Oh, yeah, you are stuck. You're going to have to figure it out. Yeah. Your forearms are on the floor. Am I talking French? Your forearms on the floor, darlings. Yes. Have the back of your hands on the floor. Yep. And as soon as you have the back of your hands on the floor, notice your forearms are on the floor. Yeah, there we are. Now, if your elbows are in front of your face, that's not it. Notice how you've just gone splat on the floor. There we go. So where can you prop your arms? Where can you prop yourself so that your chest is a little high? High. Great. And now start to move yourself in such a way that you can put your right shoulder into the palm of your left hand. Now don't lift the hands from the floor. That's the constraint. Aha! There we go. You see, just as soon as you get the constraint, it becomes le possible. Eh? Very good. Oui, oui. Yeah. Very good. That's it. So instead of bringing your hand to your shoulder, you're now bringing your shoulder to your hand. That's it. Nice. Do whatever you like with your head. And now take the other shoulder to the other hand. And gradually make it increasingly elegant, doing that which is necessary and nothing else. So how much is it necessary to lift the legs to do this? Now, it's really important where you have those elbows. If they're in front of your face, chances are you've kind of splattered yourself on the floor, splat. If your elbows are underneath your tummy, chances are, once again, you've splattered on the floor. So where can you put the elbows so that there's a little bit of a lift away from the floor and you're using your elbows and your upper arms as pillars to rest on? And you just come off the pillar and back up onto it. That's it. Try both. Now, come back over your elbows and stay there. Just stay there for a moment. Remember this position you're in. You'll be coming back to it in a second. Okay, rest a little bit. Just making sure that you know how to, where to come back to. Okay. So the other art gallery that I like is, of course, here in Melbourne is the National Gallery, and I particularly like that room where they have all the stained glass as the ceiling, because I like lying on the floor and just looking at it. And I know it feels a little bit odd when you first lie down, but you quickly forget that there are other people around. It's just magical to actually lie on the floor and just look at all those, different shapes of glass and the different colors. Kind of magical. So they got that just right. But my most favourite art gallery in the whole of Australia is actually in Brisbane. And not the modern one, but the traditional art gallery. Because you walk into the main foyer and right before you, the space just opens up. It just goes, whoa. And you get this sort of scene right through the gallery, and then below, right below you, there's this beautiful big pool of water that reflects a statue, a sculpture in it. And it's just spacious. It's fantastic. That is my favourite gallery. Please come onto your front again. Rest on your elbows and your forearms. Prop yourself high. Now stay propped up high on your elbows like that, And start to bend or start to slide your right knee on the floor. In other words, bend your right leg and slide your right knee on the floor, keeping your right foot on the floor. And then come back. Do that several times and notice which shoulder goes to which hand. That's nice. Feel how the left shoulder goes into the right hand. Can you feel that? Yeah. And now experiment a little bit with the other leg. And if you've put your elbows in just the right place, you won't feel like you're going to fall over. You can control your descent quite nicely. Great. So now alternate. Bend up one leg, put it down, bend up the other leg, put it down. And notice how there's this relationship between legs, pelvis, torso, shoulders. And then you could ask yourself, well, how much do I need to bend up my leg to feel that I could just simply lower my shoulder onto my hand? That's it. That's really nice. Yeah. And for those of you who are willing to experiment with it, let the head hang. And for those of you who are not ready to experiment with that possibility, leave it for later. And notice, if the head is hanging, when does it land on the floor? And what happens at the moment that the head lands on the floor? Does your breathing change? When you get that extra point of contact, the head contacting the floor, does something change in your breathing? Great. Now leave the legs long and just continue. Left and right, left and right. And notice now how the legs just simply get moved because you're moving your shoulders and your trunk. If you don't stiffen the legs, they just simply get moved. Can you feel that? Nice, very nice. Now, continue and listen carefully. The next time that you're taking your left shoulder to rest into your right palm, continue rolling in that direction until you're on your back. And then return. That's it. Yeah, you can certainly use your legs. Yeah, that's it. Do that many, many times. And a lot of you will find that when you end up on your back, your right arm is across your chest and your left arm is out to the side with the palm towards the ceiling. And then you just simply roll yourself back up into that left arm. Yeah, that's it. Now try the same thing to the other side. Roll to your left, landing. So you were just rolling to your left, weren't you? Roll to your right, landing your right shoulder into your left hand, and continue rolling until you're on your back. And then off you go. And if you get the elbow position just right, it doesn't feel like you have to heave yourself up onto that elbow. You just simply roll up onto it. Yeah, that's it. All right, some of you are getting the idea now. The next time you're on your back, just roll the opposite way and continue until you end up on your back the other way. So basically folding in on yourself and unfolding, folding in on yourself and unfolding. And then for those of you who actually have space around you, all you lucky critters that have decided to lie in a good place in the room where there's lots of space, what would happen if you just kept on rolling in the same direction using the same form that you've been playing with? Folding into your arms, unfolding out of your arms, folding into your arms, folding out of your arms. Now, yeah, keep the form, don't struggle, keep the form, keep the form. You fold, that's it, you fold out of it, you fold, yeah, that's, oh, you got, now which arm's gonna, yeah, oh. So if you've got your arms just continually crossed, folded in front of your chest, that's a slightly different variation. So there'll always be a moment when you're folded out of your arms, and then there'll be a moment when you're resting on both of your elbows and you're folded into your arms. That's it. Maybe some of you like rolling so much that who cares about the form, right? Oh, go ahead and just roll. Have a good time. Let go of all the constraints. Just roll yourself. Have a good time. Why not? A little bit of liberty is a good thing. Fantastic. Roll yourself back to your place and rest. Nice, look at that. Cool. You actually end up in a crucifix position for a little while. Yeah, feel that? That's nice. That was really nice and very smooth and fluid. It looked like the same quality that you had at the beginning. Nice. Very, very nice. So the reason I like the Brisbane Gallery so much and those open spaces, because I remember the original surprise the very first time I walked in. When I walked into that space and it just opened up before me, it was like my whole somatic being also just went, opened up. And that was such a delight. So I go to that gallery specifically to get that buzz. I don't take drugs, I go to galleries. Right? Interesting that walking into a space can create that internal sense of self. Pretty cool. And I guess that's why some people really like the profession of being an architect, because they can design those kinds of spaces for people to live in where they feel how they want to feel. And you could say that we're doing the same thing every time in an awareness through movement lesson, creating the conditions in which we can feel how we want to feel. Tarawara is the name of the place up in the Yarra Valley. Tarawara. Sounds Aboriginal. Uh-huh. Please, roll onto your front. Have your arms out to the sides, palms to the floor. Turn your face to the right. Rest the left side of your face on the floor. Turn your face to the right. Rest the left side of your face on the floor. Now, please, just simply bend the right elbow so that you've got a 90-degree angle between your upper arm and your forearm, just like yesterday afternoon with Lisa. Put your left hand into a push-ups position. And now start to slide your arm in the direction that your fingers are pointing until your arm gets really long on the floor, and then come back. Right arm. Your left hand is in push-ups position. Your head is turned to the right. Every time you slide that hand, imagine that you're looking at the middle finger of that hand with your eyes. So not the thumb, not the index, not the ring finger, not the little finger, the middle finger. Now, when you feel that your arm is the longest, start to circle it around to your left. And of course, as you do that, your head's going to get in the way. So what are you going to do to get that arm more around to the left with your head in the way? What's the most practical solution? Yeah, lift the head. Very good. Now, explore two particular possibilities. You could simply lift the head, keeping it turned to the right. Try that. So your arm's long and then you're sweeping it around further to the left. And then the other possibility is as your arm sweeps to the left, you then turn your head to the left. And then when your arm returns to the right, you turn your head to the right again. So find out which of those two possibilities, and I'm sure that there are more, but which of those two possibilities best serves you? Absolutely. Which kind of dictates the logic of where you need to turn your head, right? But I did say imagine. I did say imagine looking at your middle finger, and it is possible to track your middle finger with your eyes without turning your head. It is. In your imagination, it is. Now actually, see your middle finger. Use your eyes, your head, your face to see your middle finger. And now what do you have to do? Also notice which leg starts to bend, which knee gets drawn up along the floor. You all discovered this relationship earlier when you were putting one shoulder into the hand, remember? So here you are. Here you are again. Now the left hand is in a push-ups position for a reason. We all have different abilities with our shoulders. So if you need to lift yourself a little bit from the floor, please feel free to use your left hand. Now you're all doing really well, so please continue. Take that hand all the way around so that it comes underneath you and ends up on the right-hand side until you've made a full circle with the arm. So there'll be a moment when your left hand has to leave the floor because the right arm has to go under it. Now, some of you are only doing half a circle. Can that right hand go to the armpit and then underneath yourself, not underneath your throat, underneath your torso? Please feel free to use the bending of your legs as you need to. You can bend one leg, then you can bend the other leg. I think the technical term would be called squirming. Which is what infants do so well, right? Without instruction. It's up to you. There we go. That's it. That is a full circle. Nice. So just like walking into the kind of architecture that you want to live in, experience in, make the movement the same. Make the movement the way you want it to feel. And I'm gambling here. I'm gambling that none of you want to make it feel like it's a strain, that it's effortful. I'm gambling that we've developed a sense of shared aesthetics. If you can make the movement feel spacious, lots of room, like you feel not stuck at any moment. Ooh, wow, that'll be nice if you like experiencing those kinds of things. I do. But maybe for some of you, you like the feeling of smoothness more. Stop and rest, please. So you remember at the beginning of the week, we made these big arm circles, swinging a bucket. So now here you are making another arm circle, but instead of this circle being to the side, it's in the front. Please lie on your front once more. Have your arms out to the sides at shoulder height. Have your right arm elbow bent so that the forearm is pointing headwards, upwards. And have your left elbow bent so that the forearm is pointing downwards. That's it. And now think or imagine. What's the distance from your left hand to your abdomen? Especially if the elbow is at shoulder height. What's the distance? And imagine putting your left hand all the way underneath yourself until your abdomen could rest on your hand. How would you make space for the hand to get under there? Obviously, you're not going to tunnel into the ground, right? You're not going to be a little mole and go underneath. So how do you make space for the hand to go underneath? And what will you be doing with your head to facilitate the traveling of the arm? Start to do that. Start to do what it is that you were imagining. And compose the movement so that it feels how you want it to feel. Move your head when it's appropriate. Shift your weight on your trunk when it's appropriate. Create space underneath yourself when you need to. Use your legs. Use your right arm. So now you're becoming the architect of your own movement. So what do you need to do with that right arm to make it useful? Sorry to be so utilitarian, but, you know, if it's just lying there like a dead fish, how do you bring it back to life? Don't kiss it, please. Just don't kiss the dead fish. How do you make that arm useful to yourself? And in which direction does it make sense to turn the head as you start to introduce that left hand underneath you? And I can see some of you are doing this with your right arm, so for you it would be introducing your right arm underneath you. Now initially, some of you will need to roll yourselves quite a lot because that's your first response into how to get that hand underneath you. But as you go on, different possibilities might appear. So this is where it's really, really essential that you stay aware, stay awake to new possibilities as they appear. Otherwise, you're just stuck doing the same old all the time. So the left hand goes underneath. Is it possible to get the left hand so far underneath you that it sticks out the other side? And I don't mean from the back, from the left side. Initially, you can lift yourself from the floor, you can roll, whatever it takes to get a taste of what's wanted. And then you can start to refine. That's it. Yep, that's it. Yep. And notice how the friction of the floor against your arm has a tendency to roll you a little bit. It's like the arm wants to go underneath you and forward to the right, and then the trunk kind of gets rolled backwards. Use that, by all means. Why not? There we go. And then once it's through, you can return to lying on your front. Yeah, you don't have to roll all the way onto your back. And we've done also a lesson, remember this week, where you were able to create that space underneath the right-hand side to get that arm through. So you know a lot. It's now, what do you apply and when? And it could be that as that left hand appears on the other side and you start to roll a little bit backwards, it could be that you start to draw up that right leg, to slide that right knee up along the floor, which gives you then some space. Great, let that be in rest, please. One more time. Return to lying on your front and have your arms in that sort of funny bent position. The right forearm pointing upwards, the left forearm pointing downwards, and your elbows at shoulder height. And just to find out what it's like now, having done those variations and all those different things, lift both arms from the floor simultaneously and put them down. Just do that several times. How different is that from the first time you did it? Can you remember what it felt like the very first time you tried to lift your arms? And if you can, could you please do it? Lift your arms like you remember you tried to lift them the very first time. And be as accurate as you can. Try to create the same sensations in yourself, if you remember. Okay? And now that you've tasted that, let it all go. And lift your arms like you lifted them now. Yeah? Yeah. What's the difference? Can you feel what you do differently? That's the kind of knowledge you want. Now leave the elbows and the arms on the floor and slowly start to straighten the right arm in the direction it's pointing, and then straighten the left arm together in the direction it's pointing, so that both arms reach their full length at the same time. And then bring both arms, return both arms to their position so that they arrive at the same time. Not one before the other, not one after the other, but at the same time. Long, at their longest at the same time, returning to the position at the same time. And what is it that you can do with your shoulders, with your chest, with your head to reduce the friction against the floor. With your pelvis, with your legs. If you had a mask and a snorkel, this would be a really nice movement to do in the water. Maybe a little bit of a floaty around your waist so that you're buoyant. Great. Now, in whatever way you can, and please don't just go for the final movement, but explore a little bit. In whatever way you can, use this movement that you're doing with your arms to roll yourself onto your back. In whatever way you can think of, just compose it gradually, gradually, gradually until you arrive. And just stay lying on your back. Now, you remember at the beginning of the lesson, you paid attention to the width of the shoulders across the front, the width of the shoulders across the back, the width of the hips across the front, and the width of the hips across the back. Do you remember that? Check in now. What's different? And in your own time, at your own speed, roll to one side, come up to standing, and sense those same widths standing. And some of you might feel that as soon as you get to standing, those widths start to transform. Don't try to correct the transformation. Just follow what changes in standing. And then once you've experienced that, return to what you felt on the floor and see if you can recreate in standing what you felt on the floor. So probably the worst response you can have if you start to feel, oh, wait, whoa, I'm going, oh, that's changing. No, I'll push myself back. Worst thing, actually feel the change in response in standing, note it fully, and then start to track your way to what you felt on the floor. So that you're constantly knowing, now I'm here, now I'm here. Go for a walk. Feel what the widths are like when you're walking. Great. And we're going to have a break and we'll come back just after.